In the quiet corners of Coon Rapids, Minnesota, the morning of January 26th, 2024, began like any other. The air was crisp, the streets were lined with snow, and inside a warm home on 94th Avenue Northwest, a family of 5 was beginning their day. Mario Alberto Trejo Estrada, a 39-year-old father, was the anchor of this home. Beside him was Shannon, the mother, and their 20-year-old son, Jorge. In the background, the sounds of 2 toddlers, both under the age of 5, filled the rooms with innocent chaos. This was a house of life, of plans, and of safety. But outside, the illusion of safety was being dismantled. A navy blue Nissan Altima was prowling the neighborhood. Inside were 3 men, Alonzo Mingo and the Shumpert brothers. They weren't just passing through, they were hunters. They were waiting for the right moment to turn a peaceful Friday into a permanent nightmare. Deception is a predator's greatest tool. At approximately 12:30 p.m., the blue Altima stopped. 3 men stepped out. 2 of them were dressed in high-visibility UPS-style uniforms. They carried packages. To any neighbor watching, this was a routine delivery. But look closer at the footage. Notice the way they walk, not with the casual efficiency of a worker, but with the tense, jerky movements of men carrying concealed firearms. They approached the door. They didn't just knock, they were performing a role. They knew that in a suburban neighborhood, a uniform is a master key. It bypasses our natural suspicion. It makes us open the door. As they reached the porch, the cameras picked up a chilling whisper. One suspect turned to the other and asked, "Ain't no big dog in here, is it?" This wasn't just a question about a pet. It was a tactical assessment. They were checking for threats. They were looking for anything that could stop them. When the answer came back, "Not yet," the trap was set. Mario opened the door to receive what he thought was a package. Instead, he looked into the barrel of a gun. The transition from a normal day to a death sentence took less than 3 seconds. Inside the home, the silence was shattered by screams. Shannon, the mother, reacted with the presence of mind that most of us can only hope to have in a crisis. She didn't just call 911. She hid the phone and kept the line open. The dispatcher in Anoka County answered to the sound of terror. Through the speakers of the dispatch center, the home invasion was broadcast in real time. The demands for money, the crying of the children, the sound of a family being cornered. Shannon was offering them everything: cash, jewelry, anything to make them leave. But as we will see, these men didn't come just for money. They came with a darkness that no amount of cash could satisfy. The violence was sudden and absolute. Mario, the father, was the primary target because he was the primary threat. In the entryway of his own home, in front of his wife and children, he was shot in the head. Why? This is the psychology of the annihilator. By removing the protector, the killers felt they had complete control. But the horror didn't stop with Mario. The gunmen turned their sights on Shannon and her 20-year-old son, Jorge. In a matter of minutes, the true crime case of Coon Rapids had become a triple homicide. While the adults were being systematically targeted, the 2 youngest children, mere toddlers, were left in the middle of the carnage. This is where we see a moment of pure instinctive heroism. The older of the two toddlers, seeing his father down and his mother in danger, did something extraordinary. He grabbed his younger sibling. He pulled the baby away from the bodies. He moved them into a separate room, effectively shielding his brother's eyes from the trauma. Investigators who watched this footage later would break down in tears. Even in the presence of ultimate evil, there was a spark of ultimate love and protection. The killers fled, believing they had left no witnesses. They were wrong. They were surrounded by a digital net. The blue Nissan Altima was captured by Ring cameras, dash cams, and city surveillance. Within hours, the vehicle was traced to 39-year-old Alonzo Mingo. Police didn't just find the car, they found Mingo leaving his residence in Fridley. The perfect crime was falling apart because they underestimated the speed of modern forensics. The hunt for the Shumpert brothers was now in full swing. Now look at Omari Shumpert in the interrogation room.
I'll say, yeah.
Somewhat of the same level of respect, right?
Yeah, but
we do
something like you said way back, like basically like friends, anything like that? No.
Not friends.
No.
All right, but you've known him all the way back to Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where are you living now?
Huh?
Where are you living now?
Over in Minneapolis.
When's the last time you talked with Alonzo?
I'm gonna say like a month ago or something like that.
A month ago?
Like a month and a half, I think.
A month and a half ago?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot. So that was already on camera. That was already put on the news. It already showed Alonzo shooting a person. Okay? I don't know if I explained it well to you or not, but the more information I tell you, the less you can tell me to
No,
help.
but I was saying you can't tell me about that because I heard about it. The whole world know about it.
Sure.
That's everywhere you go. Everywhere, and you heard about what happened. Somebody got killed in Coon Rapids. 4, 5 people. How many more people got killed? I don't know.
Okay.
So what did I do?
You were there.
Wasn't.
He sits there, trying to look bored. I wasn't there, he says. I was home with my baby mama. He thought the mask protected him, but the detectives had him. They played the audio of the big dog comment. They showed him his own movements on camera. They pointed out that he touched a lizard cage inside the home, leaving behind DNA that no mask could hide. Watch his body language change as the alibi collapses under the weight of the evidence.
You were. I mean, you're probably not going to take my word for it or anything, but I'm not lying to you. I'm not making stuff up. We had the pull camera. Well, we didn't. Somebody had a pull camera in the house. When we see you pull up, we see the 3 of you get out, walk up to the house. It's just you and Alonzo. He knocks on the door. You don't come to the door at first, and you start walking away. As you guys are partway down the street, or partway down the driveway, he comes outside, so you guys walk back. Okay? On the door there was a camera. And you had gloves on, you had a mask on, and we're still able to tell it's you.
With a mask on.
Yeah. Okay? And then, who'd you wave up?
I didn't wave nobody.
He was sitting in the car and you waved him up.
You said I was sitting in the car?
No, he was sitting in the car. The third person was sitting in the car and you waved him up.
I don't know. I
Okay?
don't know who that was. I don't know who that was with no mask on, but it showed it wasn't me. You didn't ask me where was I at, or was I somewhere else, or nothing.
Hey, I know where you were, but where were you? And then I'll follow up on that. And
You know I was there.
As part of our true crime cases tradition, we look at the last meal. That morning, the Estrada family sat together for breakfast. It was a meal of cereal, coffee, and conversation about the weekend. It was the last time they would all be whole. Contrast that with the suspects who were likely eating fast food in that blue Altima, fueling themselves for a robbery. One meal was a celebration of family, the other was a preparation for murder. This contrast is the heart of the tragedy. In late 2025, the legal system delivered its final word. Alonzo Mingo, life without parole. Demetrius Shumpert, life without parole. Omari. Shumpert, convicted on all counts. The judge cited the particular cruelty of the crime, specifically that it happened in front of children. The community of Coon Rapids stood together as the sentences were read. The killers who came dressed as delivery men would now spend the rest of their lives in a 6x9 cell where no one would ever deliver them from their fate. We end today not with the killers, but with the survivors, the 2 children who were rescued by police. They are the living legacy of Mario, Shannon, and Jorge. This case teaches us about the mask of sanity and the importance of situational awareness. But more importantly, it teaches us about bravery. The bravery of a mother who kept a 911 line open, and the bravery of a toddler who protected his brother. If you believe those children deserve a life of peace, type protect them in the comments. Subscribe to True Crime Cases for more deep dives. Good night.